sorry, had a phone call in between there. So back to Hayden, mid-workshop interruption. So one thing that Hayden did today was he looked back in his writer's notebook, and he used his writer's notebook, and he went back and turned back to an old entry, and he reread it. And right away, like, that gave him this idea for another time when he played baseball and he got a home run, and he was like, oh, wow, I can write about that time. So writers, I just want to let you know, like, we could all use the Hayden strategy. We can all think to ourselves, like, let's go back and reread an entry and think to ourselves, does that spark another moment for me? Does that help me write another moment? So that's a really great strategy. Okay, writers, keep going. So you want to think about, like, any time that you can celebrate volume or stamina and strategies that your kids are using. And sometimes there's strategies that you've not talked about at all. You've just noticed and admired some writers doing some amazing ways to keep themselves going in their stamina, and you make that public for other people. Wow, how great would that make that writer feel, right? So the third thing we're going to talk about is and I'm sorry that we have two videos in this, but anyway, third thing we're going to talk about is independence. My favorite thing to talk about is getting kids independent. I'll tell you a little story. I have a wonderful mother. She is, everybody loves her. Everybody thinks the world of her. And she has been an amazing model for me in the world of hard work and an inspiration. She's an oncology nurse, so, you know, she's got a big heart. One of the things, though, as a parent, she wanted to protect all of us kids from the hardships around the world. And guess what? You can't protect it. You can't protect your kids. She tried to solve all of our problems instead of giving us the tools to help us solve our problems on our own. And I've thought a lot about that as you get older and as you have more difficult things happen to you in your life, and everybody will. And, you know, it just happens to be the more years you live, you probably will have more difficulties. But I've had to do a lot of reflecting around, like, I don't have the tools for this, and I have to figure this out, and that hasn't been good. And so I think it was all, like, very well-meaning, just as it is very well-meaning for teachers to go to that child that looks like they're struggling and you know, give them the support. Oftentimes the support, though, is sending the message, like, you don't have what it takes to do this work. And we want to be careful in that way. We want to be careful in that we are giving the same kind, not the same kind, but the same amount, or I mean, maybe not even the same amount, but the same approach to support to all of our writers, no matter where they are in their journey as a writer. Whether you teach fourth grade and they write like a first grader, or they write like a fifth grader, you want to consider that this is where they are, this is exactly where they should be. They're able to do whatever they need to do on their own without me, and I will confer with them and compliment them to help them see the amazing work that they're doing today, and then I will teach them something to move them forward. So how do you do this? How do you help kids? And especially as kids get older, you know, some habits have become have formed for them. How do you break these habits? You start creating your rituals and routines to support that independent piece. And so one thing that you want to consider is what happens after the mini lesson when the kids go off to write. In kindergarten, how do the materials look? You know, many teachers have writing centers, you know, and they have you know, paper choice, the materials, and kids can, you know, go get them, and they may get them. It's Monica Piram's Writing Center, second grade. They may get them when they're transitioning, but a lot of teachers find that can be a little tricky. Some teachers, my friend Jean and Laurel, have this like, what are we doing during writing workshop, and what's my job, what's your job during writing workshop, during the independent time, during the mini lesson, the independent time, and during the teaching share. And that could be a really nice opportunity to say, like, here's our ritual. And so my ritual in my classroom was that as soon as I sent kids off, and I always staggered, this was fourth grade, my first year teaching was fourth grade, and I always staggered my kids back to their seats at the beginning of the year until we got the ritual up and going. And some teachers don't like to do that. They like to practice right at the beginning and say, nope, do it again, do it again, do it again. Whatever works for you. But I think it makes all the difference in the world when, from the mini lesson to independent writing, that there is a ritual, because a lot of time is wasted, and then it's hard to get it back. And there's just something magical about. We just came together in the mini lesson. It feels like I'm wrapping my arms around you. We're in this huddle. We all are seeing ourselves as writers, and I'm leaning in and I'm teaching you this thing that feels so exciting to learn. And now you're ready to go. So off you go, right? But then off you go. How can we like have this ritual that says like, we're doing it, we're going off? And so for me, it was I always wrote with my kids for the first 2 or 3 minutes of writing workshop. I mentioned this the other day, I always sat with them at a table, so it felt like I was part of that community. And before I sat down, I played classical music. I think that's helpful too. Not too loud, and you can certainly ask your kids, is this distracting for me? Do I not like this? Let's take a vote. Let's see if we could try it for a couple of days and get going inside of it. But it sets the tone, and it says, this is quiet writing time. The other thing that Mary Osborne taught me is that we follow the 3 S's. We're seated, we're silent, and we're self-reliant. Now, one thing that a parent taught me a couple years ago is that he doesn't sit when he writes. And in kindergarten, a lot of kids don't like to sit when they write. So I changed it to space, silent, and self-reliant. And by the way, the silent, maybe not be silent in kindergarten until maybe November, December, January. But the rest, you cannot, I always think to myself, I wish that could be my superpower, that I could write and talk at the same time. Which is a little scary that that's the superpower that I want. But anyway, it's only one of them. But it's something that I wish I could do, but I can't do it. So if an adult can't do it, most likely your kids can't do it. And so then, therefore, the volume goes down. And so we have to get kids, first grade and above, to know that we're silent and we are self-reliant. And that whole writing with your kids helps to send the message that you're self-reliant, because they can't come to you, they can't talk to you. You're practicing those 3 S's just like you're asking them to do. And then the other thing it does is it helps you, which is the hardest thing for me, but it helps you to not fixate on the child that's not writing. And so I think what Janie Gabalt taught me is we need to believe in every child, that every child is doing the very best that they can do in this moment. And when you say you have a pen, you have a writer's notebook, or you have a booklet, you have a heart, you have a brain, you are saying, I believe in you. You got this. You're going to figure it out. You can do this. And so for me to write and have that ritual of me writing for 2 or 3 minutes in that transition time, it sets the tone for all of Writer's Workshop. For the first week of school, I might be writing the whole, every single day, because remember, our stamina is really short, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and so you really don't have time to confer with that. And then when you are ready to confer, you, the teacher, decides who are you going to confer with. And we're going to talk about conferring probably on the following day, on this day 6. And one of the big things I'm going to share with you on day 6 is the importance of a compliment conference that first month of launching your writing workshop. And really, it works really well because you're building writers' confidence, and with that, building writers' confidence as well as their craft, you are you don't have as much time. You just, a compliment conference could last 3 minutes. And so therefore, you're building that stamina. You don't have a lot of time to have a full-on conference. But there are things that are really important that you're going to definitely do in that compliment conference that match what you will do later in the year as you're building stamina with your kids. So really important during that independent time that you have rituals. I also know that one of my close friends and colleagues, Christy Mraz, one of the things that she always did when she was in the classroom was she always wore like a special, she taught kindergarten. Probably many of you know of her and have heard of her. She's amazing. She would wear a special hat saying, like writers in progress or something like that, and she'd have like pens coming down from the hat or whatever. And so when she was in a conference, she could always point to the hat for kids, and they would know, okay, figure it out, problem solve. You can't come to me, you have to figure this out. So just trying to put it in that writer's hands and help them feel empowered that they don't need you. And if you feel like when you start getting up to confer that you see that writers are starting to like form a line next to you, that they want to have a conference, pull back. Don't confer. Stop conferring for a while and talk about it in the teaching share, and go back to that graphic to say, like, what is my job? What is your job during independent writing? And then remind them on the next day and say, remember what our job is today. I know that you guys, I'm so proud of you, and I know that you're ready for me to confer because you've been able to write independently for 15 minutes or 10 minutes and longer. And so remember, I'm going to get up and confer, but that doesn't mean that you get to get up. That means that you don't even pay attention. You're lost in your writing, just like you're lost in a book, and that you are, trying to write lots and lots and lots for as long stretches of time as you can. So you think we can do it today for 10 minutes? Thumbs up if you think we can do it. And then you send them off with your rituals. And again, your rituals can look very different. I know in pre-K kindergarten, we made up a song to transition kids from the mini lesson to going off to write. Trying to think what it is. We are writers, right? I wrote it, I can't remember what it is. Grab your pen and paper, write away, something like that. But I know Monica Priam, who taught second grade, I think she's teaching third grade now, but she was doing like something with row your boat, and she had Seated, Silent, Self-Reliant in it. It was really fun. And the kids could sing the song, like, for pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, they could sing the song like 3 times. By the 3rd time, they're all settled, they're ready to write. Maybe then the classical music comes on. That could be their ritual. Also, I know that it is very tricky to deal with materials, especially in kindergarten and first grade. And what you don't want is kids lining up at the writing center, wasting, precious time. So many kindergarten and first grade teachers have like table captains, and they will have those table captains be the first to go grab their cubby. They may have their like a little like Tupperware bucket, I guess, and in that bucket could have their writing folders, could have their magic pens, could have extra paper, because that's the other thing that might be nice to have, is like extra writing paper. Even though we do know that kids, we want kids to have just right paper, which means that, for some kids it's going to be 1 line. For other kids, it might be 5 lines. And so we have to figure out how to manage that as well. And often what I've been, working with teachers with around that is like, just like you are helping them see a just right book for reading and to select just right books, we need to select just right books for writing. And often you might have that in a conference once you get to know that writer. And maybe they grab a couple of, just like you grab 10 books in first grade for your baggie to prepare for a reading workshop. Maybe you grab 10 booklets in that Just Right paper choice, or 5 booklets. I mean, you can grow a lot after 5 books, so you might increase your lines after 5 books, but maybe for now, just to support that independence and that volume and stamina, you grab 5 sheets of 5 booklets that feel just right for you to prepare for a writing workshop for the week, and then certainly as the week goes on and you have a conference, if you are like, wow, you're ready for more lines, let's grab more lines, you can grab that for the writer. But I think that whatever you do is you want to make that transition seamless from the rug to that independent writing time, and that everybody has a job, and whether they're 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds or they're 10-year-olds, they know what that looks like. And anyone can come in and go, whoa, what just happened here? Look at how independent these writers are. And they're not only independent on getting started, which is so exciting, but then they're keeping themselves going for long stretches of time. It's a miracle. Anyway, one of the things to think about if you are struggling with that, and I think it is one of the hardest things, is, I have, one of the things that I've done is, I have like the launching unit, and I have the goals of the launching unit, and I have the days, and, and I really stress in each day that, what does the time look like? What does the time frame look like for your volume, or actually for your stamina? And then lots of these mini lessons have to do with supporting volume, stamina, and independence, the independence piece, or the teaching share, or the mid-workshop interruption. So if you're interested in this unit, contact me so I can work with your schools, because I really work with a lot of schools, helping them feel really successful for that launching unit, and that supports the whole of your year. It makes your whole year go so much better. So anyway, I think that's it for today. Volume, stamina, independence, and in launching your writing workshop. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so grateful for you, and have a great week. Whether it's your first day or your second week with kids, enjoy them, love them. They're such a gift, right? Ugh. Okay, have a great week. Bye.